To set that up, we would need to do a small animation in our widget. Let's save first, make sure everything is saved. Go back to the designer and we have a control in here. We'd want to use animation. We'd want the control to be closed and then when we press, it opens. So to do that, let's create a new animation. Click on the little plus and call it open close. Click on then on the animation and you can see that the timeline is ready to be used. So what we want to modify, you could of course click on track and add whatever part you want to change, but there is an easier way. Just click on your border, go back down here on the transform, and you can see everywhere this little diamond shape with a plus. That means add the track, add a keyframe for us. And we'd want the scale. So you can see this little diamond shape here everywhere. So the one we interest us is the scale. Let's just put it back to 0 and then say create a keyframe. Then Unreal will set up the timeline for you. Everything will be set up automatically. Now let's go to 1 second and say I want the scale to 1 and let's create a new keyframe. Now if I drag, you can see that it open and close. If I press play, and you can go in reverse as well. Let's compile, save this. Now we have open close. So if you click somewhere else than on animation, it goes back to normal. The problem is right now is that it's open by default. We want it to be closed and only be there when it opens. So again in scale, let's just put it by default to 0. Compile and save. Now we need to bind that to a new key. So you go to your blueprint of your character, double click to open, and let's create a new one somewhere. We know we want to use the space bar. So right click, space bar, and you have keyboard event, space bar. The same way we had it here. Press and release. Now there is one way to do that quickly is to be able to swap between press once and press the second time. You just drag and you use something called flip-flop. Flip-flop will basically play A and then play B. Then play A, etc., etc. Compile. And you remember we store our widget in a variable, so we can call him back. He's right here. Drag it with control, and we got a widget. Now drag from the widget, and we know, again, you can search. We know we want to play an animation. There is a node for that. And he's asking us which animation. And we know animation was called open close. Get open close, and plug it right in. Now, that's the first time it will play. The problem is that if you try it now, I press spacebar, it plays. I press spacebar again, it plays again, but it doesn't close. So we'll need to go back in reverse. You can see here, play mode, forward. You could duplicate that guy and connect the B to it and then say reverse. Or another method, the flip-flop node lets you give you also a boolean that say, is it A? And this will be true if it's A and false if it's B. So you can use that. On the play forward, drag it and say, I want to select different possibility for this one. Click enter. And then you say, what do you want to use to select that? Well, I want to use this one. Plug it in. And now Unreal is asking you, okay, if A is true, what do you choose? And if A is false, what do you choose? We know that if A is true, we'll want it forward, but if A is false, we'll want it in reverse. Now if we connect the B to it and press compile, if I press space bar and it goes to A, it will play the animation in forward. If I press a second time, it will be B and it will play the animation in reverse. Save that and let's try it out to make sure it works. Press play, no UI, press space bar, it open. Press space bar again, it close. Press space bar, and I can change the color. Now let's take care of the button. Let's gray out the default one. Stop that, and let's reopen back our widget. To work, let's set up our scale back to 1, so we can see what we're doing. You can see the wall and you can see the button. The way to gray out a button in the widget is to set it up as enable or not. In every detail window and most of the window in Unreal, you have a search bar. So if you don't know what you're looking for, but you kind of know the name, just start writing and it will filter it for you. So it's the enable. We'll want these two buttons to be disabled by default. By doing that, this button I gray out. I cannot press on it, but I can press on the other one. The problem is that they're not switching. So let's take care of the switching. We know that the button needs to be enabled once we press this one, and then disabled once we press it back. So let's save. Let's go to our graph. Here we have A, B. Let's take care of the wall first. The button A by default is disabled. The button B is enabled. So when we press the button B, we'll want our button A, drag it with Control, to be enabled. Set is enabled. Check it through. But then we'll want our button B, set is enabled, to be false. So that way, once we press on it, it gets gray out until we press the other one. Let's select this, Control W, duplicate where your mouse is, connect it, and we can connect this too. Except that now, when we press the button A, the A is disabled and the B is enabled. Let's make sure it works. Press B, A is enabled. Press A, B is enabled. Let's do the same for the curtain. We can just select this four, Control W to duplicate, and just redo the connection. In this case, we'll want our curtain A and curtain B. Connect everything. Save. Press play. Let's first go back also to our widget and put our designer to 0 so it's not there. Press save. Press play. I can rotate the camera by holding the right click and walk around. And then I press spacebar wherever I want. The menu open and I can change the color. Press spacebar to close. It's a new interior. Press spacebar again and change one of the color. Or two. And the button will keep switching. There you go. You have a small widget that change material collection in your project so you can adapt color and you can have as many buttons as you want and all of that.